So I'm pretty sure there are thousands of people who want to hear this conversation, right? You've had the amazing opportunity experience of working with who many argue is one of the greatest lyricists of all time, right? Um, the question I have is, being in the studio with this Bridger for so long, a lot of people want to, what was his writing process like? Because there are all these rumors going around of what goes on. I can tell you what I've heard.
Okay.
Luton Fire has told me that he saw this man record 10 songs in one day, right?
Yeah, man.
He didn't tell me anything about no pen or nothing either. He just said the man was in there, he heard the rhythm, and he said he was sitting there looking like he don't know what's going on. And you know, Luton Fire is a lyricist.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
What was this man's process for creating music?
Okay, Vaughn had so many different processes and ways of working throughout his years that there wasn't one way, but I have seen him do 8 songs in a day, so I know Luton is telling the truth. And those songs were freestyle, fully improvised. He would hear the rhythm, step to the mic, and sing.
So
simple as that, bro.
Before you continue, it had to be one take because this man can't
No.
remember what he said already.
No, it wasn't one take, but it was fully off the top of the head. And not all the songs. I would say of the songs I recorded with Vaughn, maybe 20% were like that. Most were written. And his process would be this. He'd come to the studio, never would listen to the rhythm before the studio, not even on the way to the studio. He did not want to. He didn't want to hear the music that was in mind to record. He wanted to come to the studio empty. His thing was come as an empty cup and let the moment, the spirit, the message fill you up from there. And if you have too much preset plans, you can't be receptive. That was the idea. So he would listen to the rhythm and sit there and just write for 30, 40 minutes, maybe sometimes a little more, not singing along, not practicing, just writing. And he'd be ready, he'd step up, step to the mic, step into the booth, and go, you know? And he'd often record 3 or 4 background tracks, and his harmony tracks were always super unique, and he'd find in-between harmonies, not your normal like barbershop quartet harmonies. He finds some different harmonies that add so much tension. Again, that's the word I keep coming to because his music has a lot of tension, you know? And mystical process, man. He would never pre-write lyrics either. He wouldn't write them at home and bring them to the studio, so, yeah.
How did his process impact you as a producer?
Definitely impacted how I approach building rhythms and releasing music with a certain urgency and a certain no fear attitude, like you said, you know, because Vaughn released sometimes 4 or 5 albums a year. And if you're too picking about the sound here or I made a mistake there, you'll never have that kind of productivity. So I learned from him to, you know, kind of don't worry so much about getting everything perfect, you know? Like my brethren said the other day, finish is better than perfect, you know, sometimes. And sometimes the perfection is the imperfection, you know? And often if Vaughn is tracking and something that sounded like a mistake popped up, many times he did not want to fix it. No, leave it. And there's many examples on the recordings where you can hear something that sounds a little funny. You just leave it and keep going because that's what came out. It's a unique way to think about it, you know? And it's very different than some other artists and producers who sometimes, I've done work where it's 7 takes of the same verse before you decide you get it right and you piece together portions. So everyone is different, but Vaughn is the most incomparable artist. I don't bother compare him to no other singer in any regard. So especially with the way he went about it, it's very unique.
In regards to being in there and seeing this, right, and seeing this up front, were you ever thrown off by it? Because listening to him is like listening to like an economics class, theological class, philosophy class, a spiritual class, a mental health session, therapy session.
Yes.
You know, so
full spectrum.
Were you ever in the studio And this man do a lyric, he just looking like, how this man come up with this? And it kind of
Well, I had
flow and
enough
rhyme,
questions. I never wanted anything to be on these recordings that I didn't know what he meant. So I was constantly asking him, what does this mean? What do you mean by that? What'd you say there? And it was funny because I remember when Google came along, it was, we started recording 2001 before that. But in the late 2000s, when we had Google on your phones, he'd be like, pull it up on your phone. Let me show you this. And we just pull it up and it will see, he'll tell us the word in the Bible to search for. The man had a knowledge of the Bible that was unbelievable. Vaughn's Bible, he had several, but his personal Bible that he took on tour was annotated, highlighted, different color stickies in each sections, different highlights for different ways he wanted to organize his recall. He always read with a highlighter, which shows you he wasn't reading for fun. He was reading as a form of songwriting, as research for his songs.
And did he ever tell you, like, because you have to be a very knowledgeable person. Like, I know you can listen to it, but actually listen and understand, you have to be a very knowledgeable person to really crack what's going on. Did he ever explain, like, why he created music on such a high level? Did he ever explain that?
Well, he said a few things. He's like, why aim low? You're underestimating the intellectual potential of the youths who are listening to this music. You're like dumbing it down for them thinking they can't reach. That was one point he made. Another point he made about the information overload that he kind of approach that he takes to the song. No, he like floods you with information in a song. And he's like, how many channels do you have? How many websites do you have? What, your brain can't handle this? Like, this is where we're at in time right now, in the spectrum of humanity. This is the information age. That urgency to share the information made it so that sometimes he didn't even want to sing choruses, brother. It would be verse through the whole song.
He was ahead of his time because I was just telling him when we were driving, that's what rappers doing now. They're on a chorus again.
For real.
They just there straight.
No, but it wasn't easy either because you need choruses, trust me. So it's a balance with that. And he trusted I, the Zionite Kings and all the producers he worked with, I'm sure, to craft the songs and massage them and get them to the point where that hook part is there.
And how did you, as a producer now, right, the way he presents music, how did you make sure it was like melodious? Because some of them were like, it's not necessarily don't have that melody to it. The lyrics are there, but the music part is like very rough. You have to be a hardcore fan to take it in. So how did you work on him to kind of, I know he does it sometimes, but not to always do that. What was that?
No, Vaughn, there was no way. It was not, he's not like another artist where you kind of want to nudge him and send him a direction. No, man, Vaughn is a one-away man. He knows exactly what he wants to do in the moment. And he's so tapped in. He's so tapped in as a vessel and as, not just a vessel, but as a spark, as something that's receiving and sending at the same time, that he doesn't need much as far as direction. So I'd never even bothered approached it like that, or let me try to get this or that. No, you just accept it and as it came is how it was gonna be. It's perfection and its imperfections. Beautiful.
Right. And I want to talk about one of my favorite albums, which I believe is one of the greatest reggae albums of all time. Hope the people listen don't crucify me for it. I know they get real serious about this version's album, but Beauty for Ashes, right? Yeah. Released in 2014.
Yes, sir.
I remember I had a lot of conversations because the Grammy that year was very terrible, by the way. And
who was it that year?
It was I pulled it up. It was Jack Cure, the Cure, the Barrington Levy acoustic album, Luciano Zion Awake, and Morgan Heritage Strictly Roots.
And Morgan won it, right?
I think that's the year that they won it. Yeah.
I remember I submitted Beauty for Ashes and I submitted The Sound by Pressure, which came out the same year, which is also in my top 3 of albums I produced, Pressure, Busspipe, The Sound. I submitted both of those albums. I was a Grammy voter and nothing came of it. So that made me very disillusioned for the next few years, I said.
Yeah, you can't take that in. You know how to go. But well,
about the Grammys, not about music.
Yeah, and give thanks for really securing your spot in history, because anyone that knows music knows this is definitely one of the greatest albums of all time.
Give thanks.
Was this a compilation of singles, or this was made specific? Because it sounds totally different from the other stuff up to that time. This was made for an album, right?
It's a cohesive album. Um, of course, Vaughn and I have been working, as you know, since 2001. I think there was maybe 7 or 8 albums over that decade. Um, there was a time period where we weren't working as much together in the late 2000s into 2010, 11. I'd done singles with him here and there, but we hadn't done any albums in about 3 years until my brethren Andrew Basie came from Kingston, Jamaica to St. Croix to record Vaughn. And that King's Bell album kind of opened up the second half of my chapter in working with Vaughn.
So what was the reason for the break from that time?
Oh, I don't even know. I mean, I know, but it's nothing that is worth even, you know.
It's a little vibe thing for a little bit of something.
Yeah, just some vibes, you know. Small Island have these things a lot, you know? And it's something that Vaughn and I always, through whatever vibes, we maintain a respect, you know, fully. Early out, I realized what Vaughn's mission was. And when you see that somebody is doing something that will last, and I know this, for thousands of years, not just a few years from now, thousands of years, you have to humble yourself to that mission, you know what I mean? To know that this is not just for this time. And understanding that early out, always kept care between relations. You know, Vaughn sings about that, keep good relations. It requires care, you know, because it's very easy to derail a relationship. So thankfully we kept it on track, and, you know, King's Bell was kind of like the first album we did in many years together in the
Classic
studio.
album, same way.
Wow, great
Torpedo,
album.
Sedan,
Torpedo, Monk Cyanide, Black
Big
Mamba.
But the King's Bell double, I know you released something, I think it was under the Akae Beka, but the the Earth is the Lord Fire dub, massive, yeah. And King's Bell dub, yeah, crazy.
With the melodica?
Yeah, crazy.
Nice.
And the little
Good
bell,
thanks.
let's go back to the creation of Beauty for
Beauty
Ashes.
for Ashes, yeah, man. So that was after King's Bell, which was co-produced. I co-produced it, but it was Andrew Basie's rhythms from Jamaica. Vaughn and I started working on our songs that were produced by our production team, the Zionite Kings. And Moon and Ja David and I were in a very prolific period of creating rhythms, mostly in South Florida. What we would do is our drummer who we work with, his name is Junior also, Junior Richards, he's based in South Florida. So we would find the best studio we could, with the best SSL, Neve board, big boards, quality microphones to track the drum, bass, and rhythm. And we'd crank out 8 or 10 rhythms a day and share them out to the 3 different houses of producers. And so we had a bag of rhythms that were just really inspiring. And Beauty for Ashes was created from this set of music. So it's all the same cast of musicians. That's why it's a cohesive sound. It's not like you have 5 different drummers. Yeah, one set of musicians. Yeah, man. One set of musicians and a kind of simpler approach. What I love about Beauty for Ashes is that it's not overproduced. You know, sometimes I get a little carried away with guitars and synthesizers and horns. Man, I love lush cinematic sounds, and to me that kind of 3D sound is what, especially in dub, what I love the most. But for Beauty for Ashes, it was more stripped down. It felt more like the early albums, like Asini, where it's just drum, bass, rhythm, and a few key melody instruments. But to me, Vaughn's songwriting on that album is what makes it so special.
Wow, bro.
Really and truly, amazing songs. You know, Same Boat We, Same Aya One. You know, it's kind of like a theme here that Vaughn is really pushing for the last few years of his life, really was this common thread theme, you know?
In regards to the format of the album, right? I take it a lot of effort was put into that. Is there a reason, like, you started out with a reminder, like the way that beat dropped fire? It just seemed like on some like Selassie coming out.
Hey.
Like, just like so.
You mean the sequence of songs on an album? That's a huge part of putting together a great album. That's something that we as producers, we always debate over. And for me, there's no formula, but the first song has to be impact.
And you really captured this one. Like, it really.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It comes in like a herd of elephants, or like you said, like regal
Then they got the
sound.
horns and all that. Yeah, got a vibe to it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
man.
All right, then. So they're, and I'll say too, man, like not just during this time, but just in general for like the last couple of decades. No disrespect to no artist or producer, but albums aren't necessarily albums. They're a compilation of singles, right? Nothing don't miss on this, man. Because I'm gonna run through the list right now. You got a reminder, Wing Jai Rise, massive tune with Luke and Fire. Same boat we did the video for. Beauty for Ashes, massive tune. Betterment Mouth, massive tune. Say My One with Pressure, Holy Mountain, Generation Again, massive tune.
Gosh.
All's on You, massive tune. Weather the Storm, Ross back, tried and tested. Hold On, and a Healing Fire next one too.
Whoa.
And the Healing kind of got that a reminder energy in a sense if you listen to it. So it kind of like you start with that.
The beeline.
And Hold On's a very powerful tune that touched a lot of people's spirit too, you know? Hold On, powerful message.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Give you that strength.
Yeah, man.
Rough times.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so.
And A Healing too. A Healing is a song, the first verse. It's hard to say when Vaughn has what the song is about because it's about 59 different things in one song. But the intro part of A Healing is about addiction. You know, he's talking about.
That's when he said, "Don't say a word, Fire. I want to show you my Vaughn
Tell me.
expertise." When he talk about the study showing how they'll lead to addiction if the money, I don't know how to say it, but it's saying in that realm.
Yep. Like an addict, if you give an addict the choice between the substance or the money, at first he'll take the substance. Yeah, I want the substance. But then if you increase the money past a certain point, he'll take the money. And Vaughn took that to mean, you know, there's an economic component to dependency, is I think what he said in the line. You know, love Vaughn's songs because you can't imagine in reggae music you get to talk about, you know, a medical journal publication.
I'm saying if I take what I just said, the joint take you to every department in the university, you know?
Yeah, man, give thanks.
All right, we have Beauty for Ashes, right? What was the reason for the name change?
What do you mean? Akae Beka?
Yeah, what was the reason for the name change and your understanding of it?
Vaughn in late 2014, or maybe it was early 2015, decided to part ways working with his brother. And in doing so, he could no longer release music as Midnite because Midnite is Vaughn and Ron. That's their thing from inception from 1989. So by rights, if Vaughn continues without his brother, I think, and this is not what Vaughn told me, but this is me observing the situation, he needed a name for his own, under his own domain, under his own control, you understand? But the reason for the name is within the name. And if you look at Akae Beka, the words, Akae and Beka, they describe an oath in the book of Enoch. And the numbers align to Vaughn's birthday, actually. It's chapter 8, verse 69 in the book of Enoch. Vaughn is born August 1969. It speaks about the oath of the Akae and the Beka and the oath that underpins the earth. And the angels revealed the oath, or God revealed the oath to the archangel Michael, who Vaughn also has a kinship with in terms of his approach. You know, in the biblical story, Michael is who slews the forked tongue. You know, the archangel Michael is who stops the forked, deceptive tongue from humanity, the dragon, you know? And given to Michael, this oath is about revealing truths to humanity, the secrets that had been hidden. And that's the perfect name for what Vaughn deals with his entire life. So the man find the right name. I know it was a very kind of awkward transition for the public. Akae Beka, what is that? But once they really look into it and see, you see the power of it's beyond even, it's not like a name for entertainment. Like I said, it's an oath, you know?
All right, 2 questions now. His brother didn't play on the productions, right? He just played live with your productions? Or
I-Grade? He played on 1 or 2 songs early out on Nemo Zion, but after that, no, he was not a part of the production on I-Grade releases.
All right.
He released it under his own label.
What's up with performing at midnight? What was that about, man?
What do you mean?
Him performing his shows seemed to all be at like midnight.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. At least
maybe
the ones
that's
I saw in New York, you know.
yeah. I guess promoters like that, you
Oh,
know.
kind of
It's
just align
catchy.
it.
Midnight,
Yeah,
you know.
midnight performance.
You know,
All right.
time is counted from midnight,
Yeah,
not from daylight.
all right. Now, on a spiritual vibe, right, on a life vibe, what are some of the things you learn from being around them spiritually?
Man, Vaughn is so intense. I think spiritually, one of the biggest things I learned from Vaughn is giving time to people who need you. And for him, it might sound a little strange as far as what we're talking about needing you. For him, these are people who needed Vaughn's counsel, who needed Vaughn's time, who needed his words. And I'm not just talking about at shows. Vaughn's front porch was sometimes a stream of people coming through to sit down and talk and reason, and whether it's to learn or to get some advice or to, and that kind of givingness in his spirit and understanding. And he would prioritize that kind of work just as much as the stage work. Vaughn's reasonings after a show were just as important to him as the show. And he would take the time after a 4-hour show to spend 2 more hours with the people. So that kind of spiritual giving really influenced me to understand, that the give and take of humanity is super important,
You said something earlier. When he approached the studio, he wanted to be an empty vessel
Yeah,
so he can receive everything.
yeah.
I think that's very important too, because we need to kind of stay open to receive from the universe. So it's funny, it's a universal law, but it's I found it interesting that he used that with creating music, making sure he was open to receive.
Yes,
You know?
yes, in music and in life. And it would made it difficult for 2 or 3 years. I was managing Vaughn's business affairs with Akae Beka and working as front of house. And Vaughn didn't like plans, It was difficult to make plans. But of course, you schedule tours and you make plans, but the just spare life philosophy, the idea that we'll see, we'll see what happens, is often how spiritually he would approach things. Not many expectations for himself or others, and it's a great way to live, if you can manage the
Wild, right?
discipline for it.
Scott,
Yeah.
say that again. I want to go again. Go again. Talk about the expectation.
Yeah, not having too many expectations for yourself or others allows you to live in a more zen way. You're present in the moment. Vaughn has a song with "There's Only Now." Present and past, they're both illusions. They're both not reality. The only reality is the eternal now. It's just the same now that it was eons ago. We're in the same now. So, yeah, understanding that allows you to have a Zen approach, and I witnessed that in Vaughn's life as far as the power of not planning, not pre-planning too much, but still having a very resolute direction and very principled approach and prolific, non-stop work ethic. It's kind of counterintuitive, right? Non-stop work and releasing, but kind of wait and see. We're not sure what's going to happen with plans. But that polarity works.
And also I found interesting is that he seemed very strategic on the people he did songs with, and also within fan. This is fan talk now.
Yeah.
Letting you in on fan talk.
Okay.
People really rate him because he never tried to do anything weird to deviate from what he did and cross over. He just did what he did, fire. You know what I'm saying? And just stayed in his lane.
Yeah, man.
And I think it's an example that a lot of artists should use, because what I'm noticing now is everyone's trying to. I don't know if crossover is a proper word because I don't know what's going on now, but everyone's trying to do everything that they don't do, and it's not working.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
No, I feel
it's not working because the proof is in the pudding. But this man really stayed true to what he did, and he just did it.
Yeah, man.
And that's very rare within the music industry.
No, it's true. No, and early out, he had offers to cross over. He used to talk about, yes, man. Yes, man. And the man writes amazing choruses and hooks. If you're looking for that hooky kind of thing, popular thing, listen to the first album, Unpolished, full of major hooks, unforgettable hooks. So soon after the first album, he told us that Bad Boy wanted to sign him, the label.
Stop. Walk out the room.
Yeah, man. Bad Boy
they
sent
knew-
somebody to St. Croix to try sign
So hold
Vaughn.
on, Bad Boy knew about this man back
Yeah,
then.
man, yeah, man. I mean, I don't know how, but Vaughn was performing in Washington D.C.
DC heavy though.
4 nights a week. You know, 4 or 5 nights a week. Every night they had a legendary situation, very committed following. So I'm sure many of people saw Vaughn's light and Vaughn's powers.
So were they was the deal for him to perform or right?
Oh, I don't know the details on it. I'm just more sharing an anecdote of what he used to tell us. Yeah.
I never knew. So another thing I want to talk about, Vaughn, is obviously and for you to clear the air, because there's a lot of rumors and speculation about his passing. If you're open to sharing, what exactly occurred during his passing, or what was the cause of his transition?
Well, you know, Vaughn is a very private man with his family and with his health. So I think at the time of his illness, there was no announcements that he was even ill.
Did you notice he was ill or no?
Well, yes, I knew he was ill because in 2015 he went into the hospital, you know, right before the transition from Midnite to Akae Beka. Vaughn had a health emergency and was hospitalized for a period
I
of time.
noticed he looked a little sicker after the change in his beard. The beard, like, he got a lot of gray hair real quick.
Right,
Like, yeah.
right.
So what continue?
Yeah, no, in 2015, early 2015, I believe, he was in the hospital. The family, Vaughn never released specifics, so I don't feel comfortable releasing specifics about what it was or what it is. But he had a serious health issue that continued and unfortunately deteriorated over the next 5 years.
And I always ask with artists, man, because a lot of artists have health issues, and I have a theory. I just think that artist life is so rough, right? And I just think that they run into a bind financially as well as personally, because if this is your livelihood to be on the road, but the road is killing you, you're kind of in a weird spot. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, a lot of artists, people don't know how sick artists are. A lot of artists are sick, and they're struggling.
Yeah.
But like, sometimes you just gotta keep
Yeah,
back.
no, I was touring with Akae Beka, and I was on a 7-week tour with Vaughn when he's still dealing with symptoms and issues, you know, and his necessity to keep going was not just financial, you know, it's a urgency of his work, you know, and he had an urgency of recording too in the 5 years between 2015 and when he transitioned. At least 30 albums, which is amazing. Incredible output in a difficult time period in his life. Still touring throughout. So, yeah, you know, it was very difficult situation for everyone around Vaughn, of course, you know, his health situation. But the man held it with dignity and pride throughout, you know.
How was that experience for you? I know it's something you deal with. It's nothing that ever fully, but how did you, or how have you been dealing with that loss?
Yeah, you know, I lost my father. My father transitioned this past year.
Sorry to hear.
No, and it's fine. He had a great life. And what really helps the process is the gratitude for what someone did in their life on earth. And with Vaughn, it's levels. It's so much that he did on earth and so much he did for humanity that when you focus on that, it helps. But you have to deal with the pain too. You have to deal with the reality that you can't call a friend anymore. You know, enough times I wish I could just call Vaughn and reason, especially with what's happening in the earth, in the news right now, you know. So much time Vaughn's, the way he distilled current events was so helpful to me, and the way he understood humanity, you know, and you hear this in his songs where he speaks about human relations and interactions, and in reasonings and in conversation, Vaughn would, without being a great listener per se, he was able to interact with your issues and your lives to give you clarity with some simple words and principles, you know? So Vaughn was a real loving person, you know. He had a hard edge with his reputation, but lot of love. And anybody who interacted with Vaughn knows that. Yeah, man.
And I'm gonna ask you a question, right? You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but I can't listen to other music after I listen to Vaughn for like hours. My serious thing. Only thing I can listen to is soul music because I'm not necessarily listening to the lyrics. All right, let me reword this. I can't really listen to lyrical music after listening to Vaughn because it's so dumbed down. I need a break.
Yeah.
I can listen to soul music though because of the instruments, but not necessarily lyrics, right?
Yeah.
As a producer now, right? It sounded weird when I said you got the answer, but like, do you ever work with people like this? They kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know you're doing it, but it's like you've been exposed to such a stimulation, right?
Yeah.
And some of this stuff just like boring to you, bro. It's just so like
Brother.
low tier and just blah. Because I can speak, and no disrespect to artists. I know you're artists. I love y'all. You know it is. But I tell people that know me privately know this.
Yeah.
Because I say it all the time. I cannot listen to anything after I listen to Vaughn Fight.
Yeah.
It sounds like kiddie music almost. Because it don't stimulate this. It's just so basic. It's just rhyming.
I feel you. And I agree. But hear what? Like I said earlier, Vaughn is incomparable. Yeah. So I learned not to compare him.
You kind of approach it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Even when I listen to music, okay, if it's not Vaughn, I know the expectation level for the intellectual stimulation is different. And I accept it for what it is, you know?
It's not the expectation. It's just like, I understand I listen to somebody. I just can't listen to it. I need a break. You know what I'm saying? Because it don't.
I get you.
When I take a break and listen to it, I have a vibe. The only person I see that kind of close after Vaughn is like Summer Giant Iron stuff, and like early Sizzler.
Okay. Yeah.
But even that need a little break.
Yes, sir.
When I get into the real deal fire, I need a break to listen to something else to give it.
No, I understand.
It's so, as you said, it's overload. You really got to be on top to flow with this and process everything.
Yeah, man. And it takes multiple listens. This is why, you know, Vaughn's supporters around the world use his music like life, like it's part of their daily routines. It's part of how they farm and raise their children and go to sleep. And each time you listen, you learn something else. That's what I keep hearing from people, and it happens to me too. You know, you get a different interpretation, a different angle, different understanding to where it can kind of apply to any situation now.
But you know, as you grow in life, I think this is like what happens. And I think people who read the Bible talk about this, but this is my experience. As you grow in life, or you grow generally, you get a deeper understanding of lyrics. And we have a different meaning. Same lyrics. And I think his music has that energy where it's like, especially not the historical stuff, but stuff about spirituality and human relationships. When you reach that point till you understand it, you say, all right, now I see what fire is talking about.
That's right.
So you need to grow to a certain aspect to fully understand what this man was saying. You know?
Exactly. So it's an evolving relationship between you and the music. As you grow, you understand the music differently. Genius the way Vaughn planted this web of ideas and words. It's really unheard of in humanity.
Seriously.
Real talk.